Hello, this is Jockin, coach of the San Francisco Cinderace. Today I will be going over my team builder for week 4 of the SCL versus the Boston Bidoofs. This matchup is likely going to be one of my hardest of the regular season. It's up against not only a team that does very well into mine, but probably one of the better trainers in the league. The champion from last season, the only person that beat me last season, so very tough matchup all around. One I spent a lot of time building for. And I'm pretty nervous about. So getting right into it, a couple things are different because this is being done after the battle. My Hitmonchan was Phalanx at the time of the battle, and his Araquanid was Espeon at the time of the battle. But getting into the team builder itself, the things that worry me, Corviknight is going to be a problem. If it's able to get a bulk up or two off, that's very threatening to a lot of my team. It can one-shot the Grimmsnarl if I don't have a bulk up of my own ready to go. It does a lot of damage to Cinderace with bulk ups, Flygon, even Silvally. About the only thing that would be able to take one maybe is a defensive Vaporeon set, but even then it's still pretty rough and it won't take two while not being able to do much back to the Corviknight. So I cannot let the Corviknight get set up this week, otherwise I'm in trouble. Conkeldurr also threatens a lot of my team. If it brings Poison Jab, it's very scared of Grimmsnarl, Knockoff Earthquake, Fire Punch, all threaten Aegislash pretty bad. Ice Punch threatens the Flygon, Earthquake threatens the Cinderace. Any number of moves could hit the Silvally based on the type. Thunder Punch, Knockoff for the Sigilyph, or Ice Punch even, that sort of thing. So those two being the biggest threats, and then Rotom Heat. Now I'm expecting it to be either Choice Specs or Choice Scarf. One of the others I'm expecting to be on probably Goodra. If not, then it's Assault Vest, but looking at the Rotom, a Will-O-Wisp screws with a lot of my team. Grimmsnarl doesn't want to get burned, Flygon doesn't want to get burned, Silvally can, but it really doesn't like it that much. Sigilyph is perfectly fine, it's Magic Guard, so it would be able to take it, but even still, the Fire Electric Stab hits just about everything other than Flygon super effectively one way or the other. Even Cinderace takes, I want to say, like 70 to 80% from a Thunderbolt. From a Specs version, so it's going to be a big problem. And then, in terms of what I expect him to bring, those three I mentioned before, I was possibly expecting either the Espeon or the Drapion, one of the two. If the Espeon was there, I figured that's probably what he would Scarf. The Quagsire, the Goodra, and then, like I said, one of the two from Espeon, Drapion. I felt there was a chance Whimsicott might come, but if it did, I wasn't too worried because I had a lot of things that could deal with it, so wasn't too worried about the Whimsicott. The Frostlass, the same thing. It could have come, but between Grimmsnarl's Sucker Punch and Aegislash, Flash Cannon or Shadow Ball, Cinderace, Pyro Ball, I had plenty of things to deal with it. Rhydon could have been tricky, but in all honesty, Silvally or Flygon, maybe even Cinderace could have dealt with it pretty safely. Sigilyph, especially with an Energy Ball, would have one-shot it, so I wasn't too worried about most of his C-tiers. Drapion a little bit, and like I said, either that or Espeon is what I figured out to round the last slot. So let's get into what I brought for the week. So starting us off, we have Aegislash. Now, I wanted to bring Special because I felt that a lot of things that want to switch into Aegislash don't like taking special hits. And in terms of ghost coverage, we'll go back real quick. In terms of ghost coverage, he only has one thing that resists Ghost, that's the Drapion. And even then, Choice Specs Flash Cannon does about 70% to the Drapion. So if I can predict the switch and hit it with a Flash Cannon, it's going to do a lot of damage. And just about anything else does not want to take a Shadow Ball. Conkeldurr takes about 60 to 70 unless it's AV. Corviknight's going to be taking about 70 to 75, I think it is, depending on just how specially defensive he EVs it to be. Rotom takes a bunch. Goodra takes about 40, unless it's Assault Vest, and then it takes about 30. So there's not really anything that wants to come in clean on this. So if I can get Aegislash in on, say, a Corviknight or a Drain Punch or a Mach Punch from the Conkeldurr, something's going to get hit really hard. The EV spread, max special attack, I want to get as much damage out of this as possible. 212 speed is exactly enough. I outspeed Conkeldurr at max speed Jolly by 1 point, so even if I have to switch into the Conkeldurr, it cannot knock off or Earthquake before I get a move off. Now, it's still a problem if it's at full health because I won't be able to one-shot it, but if it's taking chip damage and it's anywhere around the 80% range, I'll be able to kill it quite nicely. So that's the idea there. The other benefit it has, unless Corviknight invests probably 40 to 50 EVs, I will also be faster than the Corviknight. So I'm not expecting him to speed EV both, but it's just to cover my bases on the Conkeldurr just in case. Moving on to Grimmsnarl now. Grimmsnarl was tricky this week. I couldn't make up my mind on the set I wanted to bring. I went with Fire Punch, Bulk Up, Sucker Punch, Spirit Break. Now, this set, it's meant to try and deal with Corviknight mainly, and still be able to pick up kills on the Espeon or Froslass with Sucker Punch if it has to. I had played around with Darkest Lariat, but it didn't seem to be useful even after the Corviknight got Bulk Ups and I got Bulk Ups, so I just went with Sucker Punch in the end. But it's got max HP because I need to be able to live Steel Spikes, and without max HP I'm not going to be able to take G-Max Steel Spike very well. So I had to cut some points from attack, which isn't too big of a deal because I have Bulk Up to help shore that up, but the 68 speed puts me at 89, which is faster than neutral speed Corviknight. So if I am able to get Grimmsnarl in at the same time Corviknight comes in, regardless of Bulk Ups or not, I can get Fire Punch off as a Max Flare, set up the Sun, he's going to Steel Spike me, I get my Weakness Policy off, and I should kill him after one. I think it might be a roll, but it's close. And as long as Grimmsnarl does a bunch of damage to the Corviknight, that's the main reason he's there. He has Sucker Punch to pick things off, Spirit Break to deal with Goodra if it comes in, but the main reason he's there, just match the Corviknight, try and stall out as much of its G-Max as possible. Moving on to Cinderace, it's got Black Belt this week. This is the first time in the league I am not bringing heavy-duty boots. I don't feel like he's going to bring Rhydon, and that's really his only hazard setter, so I didn't think it was necessary. Worst comes to worst, I try and get Cinderace in just once, court change it, that's the end of it. If nothing else, I can deal with the rocks. There's only him, or Cinderace and Sigilyph really care about the rocks a bunch in terms of switches, so. Moveset wise, same thing, Pyro Ball, High Jump Kick, U-Turn, Court Change, pretty familiar stuff. Running him Jolly this week, I want to be able to outspeed the Espeon and the Whimsicott if those come. The Black Belt is because Rotom Heat takes a Pyro Ball fairly well. With the Black Belt, I'm guaranteed to two-shot it. A High Jump Kick on the switch, and another High Jump Kick guarantees that it will die no matter what. Gives me a little bit of extra damage on the Quagsire or the Goodra if those try to switch in for a resisted Pyro Ball. U-Turn to help me keep momentum and pressure, get some more chip damage, and Court Change in case he tries to sneak in some screens or hazards on the Rhydon, that sort of thing. It's able to clean it up. So pretty standard Cinderace set this week. He's going to be my my lead most likely. And he deals pretty well with a lot of things. Rotom Heat walls him the best, so if I can somehow get rid of that, then Cinderace is going to be very key. Now Flygon, I knew it was coming. I debated between a lot of sets. I was looking at Assault Vest, I was looking at Lumberry. In the end, I went with Choice Scarf. I felt Choice Scarf Flygon's guaranteed to outspeed the Rotom Heat no matter what. The only things that could outspeed it are Choice Scarf Espeon, Choice Scarf Whimsicott. I don't think, well, I guess Froslass as well on top of that, but out of those three, I don't think any of them are coming. If they are, it's not the end of the world because a lot of stuff on my team can cover for the Flygon pretty well, and I can U-turn out if I expect them to come in. So this set is pretty standard. We're going with Jolly because if I don't take Jolly, I'll be outsped by the Drapion. So I want to be faster than the Drapion in case I get my Scarf knocked off. Max attack with EQ, Dragon Claw, Stone Edge. I wanted to put Fire Blast, Flamethrower, or Fire Punch on here to try and cover Corviknight, but in the end I felt it was more important to carry Stone Edge since Flygon was my main Rotom Heat counter. And the Stone Edge hits him for about 60% without the crit. With the crit, it should die, so Flygon's a pretty good Rotom Heat counter. That's his main job. Pivot out on anything else, maybe come in and kill the Drapion if it's there. So pretty standard, just a big pivot for me, so happy with him. We'll see how he does. Silvally Water. Now, this is the first week where there isn't really an obvious Silvally choice. Week 1 I took Flying, I needed the immunities and it did some good damage. Week 2 it was okay. Week 3 with the electric, week 2 with the electric. Week 3 went back to Flying so I could avoid all the ground attacks that would be coming my way this week. looking at his team, there's no obvious choice. I had debated between a couple. I ended up going with water. It takes a lot of attacks well, and unless he brings Water Absorb Quagsire, he doesn't have a great switch in. So I figure he's bringing Unaware Quagsire because he's going to want to wall Grimmsnarl or Sigilif if it gets boosts. Maybe even Aegislash if he thinks I'm bringing SD Aegislash. But Silvally Water, because it comes in on the Quagsire fairly safely. It's not too worried about getting burned in that situation because Grass Pledge will do some good damage. And it's got Parting Shot. Another pivot. The three right here are very important. I don't think I win this game if I'm not pivoting frequently. I need to be able to get switch momentum, because if I'm staying in and taking hits, that's how I lose this game. He has a bulkier team, so I need to be the one that's dictating the pace and what he needs to bring in to deal with me, not the other way around. On top of that, I've got Icy Wind, so the combination of Icy Wind, Parting Shot leaves them with -1 speed, -1 attack, -1 special attack. So they might even be likely to switch out just to clear the stat drops as I Parting Shot out. So I'm expecting Silvally to be useful. Its main thing is it one-shots the Rotom Heat, and if it's not Scarfed, it will be faster. Jolly to match the Drapion in case he needs to come in and deal with it, because he can't be knocked off, and most of Drapion's coverage moves don't worry it. I think it gets Thunder Fang, but that'd be about the only thing, and I don't expect him to run it because there's no other reason besides Sigilif, and he's already got knockoff for that. So I think Silvally's going to be a very good defensive pivot. It can switch into a lot of things, the Conkeldurr, the Drapion, the Corviknight. It can switch into the Rotom as long as Flygon's alive and doesn't have to worry about the Thunderbolts and Volt switches. So it's going to be very useful. Finally, our last member. I picked him up just this week. I liked his matchup into my opponent's team. We're running Life Orb, Magic Guard, Timid. Timid because we are base 97, which means we will be 2 speed faster than Drapion. That doesn't sound huge, but the fact that it goes first means I can get some last minute damage off unless it's a Sucker Punch Drapion. But knowing my opponent's style, I think he's a lot more likely to bring Knockoff. If he has Sucker Punch, I expect him to be running both Knockoff and Sucker Punch, so not too worried about Sucker Punch in all honesty. Moves-wise, Energy Ball is there to hit the Quagsire. Like I said, I'm expecting Unaware Quagsire, Sap Sipper, Goodra. It's going to be tricky to deal with both at the same time, that's why I have Psyshock. Psyshock hits Salt Vest Goodra for about 50%. So it can two-shot the Goodra with a Psyshock, essentially, which is very good. Psychic would do almost nothing, an Air Slash does almost nothing, a Heat Wave does nothing, Energy Ball does nothing, so we needed a way to deal with Goodra. Psyshock is the way. That said, Drapion's a good switch into it, that's why we're carrying Air Slash, does good damage, has a flinch chance, so we'll see how it works out. But yes, that's the team for the week. Oh, one thing I forgot. The last move on Aegislash. This one was a debate. Like I said, he only has one Ghost Resist, so I had originally planned to put Shadow Claw here to try and hit Goodra on the switch if it was still alive to come in, but in the end I felt Destiny Bond was better because I didn't have a great way to deal with setup Corviknight, and like I said, the benefit of outspeeding Conkeldurr is that I also outspeed neutral speed Corviknight. So this would guarantee that if I can get Aegislash in, I can Destiny Bond and take it down with me in all likelihood. So not hopefully going to be used at all, but it's there just in case. So that is the team for the week. I will have the battle video up shortly after and have a link to it at the end here. Thank you for watching, and hopefully the battle goes well.